Hello, hello. Today I'm going to show you how I can actually connect a client machine which is running on a Windows 10, right? Like this. I'm going to show you. So we have a machine Windows 10 running a Windows 10 and it's connected to a domain controller which is a domain name, okay, which is running on a base using Windows Server 2019. Right? So we have a configuration that I want to set up is the client machines, right? The workstation will be configured with a fixed IP address 10.10.10.11, and I'm going to configure it over here, right? So using a control panel, you go into the properties, okay, you can set up the fixed IP address like this over here, okay, and we have a subnet masking. Okay, so setting up this fixed client workstation, okay, fixing it, and we have a subnet mask. This is where you can set up your subnet mask, and we have got the uh, this part as a network ID, okay, and we define that using a subnet mask for this 255, and the rest of it is basically the host ID, right? So that will constitute the IP address. Okay, and we're going to point to the DNS server. So our DNS server will be this guy over here. So we're going to set it according to this, right? Which is the 10.10, okay, which is this over here, 10.10, 10.0.0.1. So here we set it as this. So this will be the IP setup version 4 for this client. And over at the server end, okay, we're going to set up our server, okay, which is running on server 2019. Okay, the fixed its IP is basically this, okay, sharing the same subnet mask, and the DNS is simply himself, pointing to back himself. So that is the environment, and it has a server domain called frontier.net. Okay, so I'm just going to briefly show you how it's going to be set up. Okay, so I'm going to use a virtual machines, right? So as you can see, I'm running a virtual machine. I have just started to virtual image. Okay, this is a virtual Windows Server 2019, and it has already started running. Right? And I have got another workstation okay, running at the other background. This is the workstation okay, that's been running over here. So you can see that's a workstation running on Windows 10. Okay, so you can see that this is running on a Windows 10 environment. Let me just close this thing. So it's running on Windows 10. So I have one that's running on the server machine. This is a 20 Windows Server 2019. Okay, I even have one Ubuntu, Unix Ubuntu that's running, but I didn't on it. Right, so just to illustrate that. So I'm just going to enter into full screen for this. So I'm just going to ensuring that the server is starting. So you can see that the server DNS is an IP address of 10.10.10.0.0.1, right? And can look at the local server or the dashboard. Let me just check this. So you can see this is the domain name. Um, okay, so it's a bit slow. So you can see the IP address there. The domain is this frontier. And if I double click on this, we can go into the IP configuration settings. Okay, so where to set up, you can just double click and go into the properties. Okay, go to the IP version, and I'm going to show you where the setup is. Right, so this is the server setup. Remember, server is number one. Okay, number one, host ID number one. Okay, this is 10.0.0. Right, so good. This seems to be okay, and we can even check it out using the PowerShell script. right? So let me just check. We can even run the PowerShell script. Let me just start running. Search for PowerShell script, and you can run it as an administrator. That will bring us to a command base, right? So I can try to do a test connection with my client. Let's say I want to do a test connection with the LON. Since I'm at the server end, I'm going to test my client machine, whether it's alive or not. So test connection, you can see source is the server, which is DCL1, and this is the client, the workstation, that is 10.0.10.11.111. Okay, so it's testing. Or I can also do the ping, right? I can ping leon.cl1. Okay, and you can see it's responding. So these are the server side. I can move on to the client side and check out how's the client side. Windows 10, which is the Windows 10. This is the Windows 10. Okay, I can check it out. You can even check the domain. It's a frontier.0. Frontier. This is the domain. And I can also run the PowerShell script over here. I think it's already running. Let me just try to bring it up. Okay, so this is the, I can do a clear first. Okay, I'm clearing. I can do a test connection. Okay, now I'm testing the connections to the server, right? Which is, I think, dash dot. We can even put in the IP address, right? Remember, the IP address for the server is 10.0.0.1. Remember? Okay, so I can test. Now I'm a client machine. I can try to do a test. Is it running? Okay, that. So you can see that it's testing. It's a bit slow. I don't know why it's so slow. At least it's responded, right? So you can see that the long C1 is testing the server, right? Oh, it's a bit slow. So it's like pinging, you ping 4 times, right? So we'll just wait for a short while. The last reply from it to come back. So that is from the client, and you can see this is the server, right? The client is, this is the client, the workstation, and moving over. Okay, yes, reply. I can even check the IP configuration of this machine. P config, right? And you can see that's my address. Okay, my current computer is this. Okay, and I'm able to ping the server. Right, so basically you can see that these two machines are connected. And of course, you can go to the control panel, right? If you want, you can go to the control panel. Okay, control panel. You can even, this is currently a fixed IP address, right? But if you want to change it to, let me see, where's the network? Okay, anyway, we can also access from here. Right, we can go to the network setting. I didn't see the, is there a network setting? Yeah, okay, we can go by this way, internal, and we can go to the network sharing center. We can look at the properties. So looking at the client workstation, okay, we can go to the IP version 4 and go to the properties. There you can see, right? This is the setup, okay, which give rise to your this IP configuration. You can see, you can do a comparison, right? So this is what is being IP config, right? But if you don't want to use a fixed IP, you can always choose obtain the IP address automatically, right? And let's just change this also, obtain the DNS server address automatically, and we click OK. All right, and try to close it. Okay, and let's move on to this first and check this IP config. There you can see, just now I do a IP config. This is the fixed IP address, which I have fixed it myself, but I have since then changed to auto, right? So if you see, let's say I just check back my properties. Right, IP configurations, properties, you can see I trying to obtain the IP address from a DNS address automatically, and this is usually by Microsoft. If there isn't any DNS server that you have specified, you will basically give me a random IP address. So you can see this is now 192.168.199.198, right? So you can see it's different, and the subnet mask has also changed. So now the 3255 in front become the network ID, and the host ID is only restricted to the last decimal right over here. Okay, so that is to show you that this is a DHCP setup, okay, and this is the dynamic IP address, and you have a fixed IP address. Right, so